All right, we'll be starting shortly in about a minute. Hello everyone and welcome. We'll start exactly at 12. Audio visual check, anyone? All right, it is 12 o'clock p.m. Central, and yeah, let's get started. So hello, my name is John from WebDev for You. Welcome to the live stream. I do these live streams every Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central, and we discuss everything Webflow, from building entire websites, creating unique layouts, working on animations and interactions. And I also provide support via Super Chat if you need help with a specific issue or something within your personal project. You can drop a Super Chat and I'll be happy to help. All right. Hey, Dale. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, hopefully we get more trickling in. Yeah, so today's going to be a fun live stream. I have the agenda here. We're going to start building a site with the client-first system from Finsweet. And yeah, I haven't built the site before, but I've been just kind of studying the client-first system. And yeah, I want to attempt a build with it and see how it goes. So we'll start with that. Then from 12:30 to 12:40, I'll field any questions about the build. And then from 12:40 to 1 p.m., we'll have a general Webflow discussion, and I'll field any super chats. There's a super chat I'll be covering for Killa, I think. If he does drop a super chat, I think he sent me an email, so I'll cover that. Hey, Tamir, how's it going? Tamir, yep. Hopefully I said that correctly. Welcome. Yes, this is the WebDev for You live stream. I do these every Monday through Thursday. So Dale wrote, sorting my way through the client-first system, I see the value and I'm looking forward to this. Awesome, for sure. Yeah, same here. Hi, Yvonne, how's it going? So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the build. Let me just minimize this here. So I have a few things set up. This is the client-first documentation. I've pretty much watched all of Joe's videos. And yeah, it's interesting. I want to give it a, kind of a fair shot here and really work with it. So within the client first, Joe has some resources, or Finsweet has some resources. They have wireframes, they have templates, and some live builds. And right down here, we have the clonable for the client first system. So I'll just click here, and I'll go ahead and clone this project. So I'll clone it, and then we'll start with the client-first system. I'll showcase all the classes and everything that's included. So right up here, it starts with this page is intended to be blank. Pre-built classes are on the style guide page. This home page is ready for you to start your custom Webflow build. Okay, so if we go to the classes panel, the style manager, the style manager right up here, we can see all these classes are already in the project and they're available for use. So we can just use them and build our site. And then here in the pages, we have the home and we have the style guide. So I can go to the style guide, and here is where I can customize the different headings and sorry about that. I can customize the different headings and the paragraphs and the different text here, and the text weights and all that good stuff. I've used the client first design system and it helps you keep organized. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to share in this live stream, just to see if it's a good way to stay, organized with class names. So we have the colors and everything here. So for me, the first thing that I want to do as the designer of the site, and by the way, we're going to be building this Figma file here. It's just a layout. It doesn't have any images or colors. We'll be adding that ourselves, but we'll build this layout. using the client first system. So the first thing I want to do for this build is, and I have a few templates using the client first system. These are Finsweet templates in case we need to reference them and get an idea for the build. So the first thing I want to do is style the text to match the style of my site. So to do this, let's first go into the Figma file. And this template, or this Figma file, is using Playfair display for the heading, and it's using enter for the text. So I want to go into Webflow. I want to go into the project settings, and let's install those fonts. So I'll go into the font section. I might have to close some tabs here. All right, cool. Okay, so let's see, Playfair display. I don't think that's a default font. No, so Playfair display. And I'll do italic. I don't think I'll be using it, but I'll add it. Add font. How's my audio, everyone? Does it sound clear? I know I've gotten a few mentions about that recently. Then we have enter, so I'll install enter. And add font. And cool, so we have Playfair display and enter. So I'll go back into the designer. And I'll go into the style guide. And I'll go ahead and update the global classes here. So for the H1, I'm going to leave everything the same. So, under typography, if we go to the client first documentation and we go to classes and we go to typography, here are the different sizes for all the typography. All I'm doing is changing the font so that we can have all the styling preset before we start building the site. Cool, thanks Dale, appreciate it. So we have the heading, so I'm gonna style the all heading, and let me actually hide my bar here. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna style the all H1 headings, and for the font, I'm gonna say Playfair display. Same for H2, we'll say Playfair display. And H3, I don't think I'll be using H4s, so I won't style that for now. So we have the H1, H2, and H3 all in Playfair display. We can see it updated here. And for the paragraphs, let's select the all paragraphs and I'll change it to enter. Okay, so it updated for all the text on the page in the style guide. And we don't have to worry about the text weights here. Nice. So that's the rich text. It is using enter now, which is great. Or no, let's see, the paragraph. I won't be using any list items, but if I did, I would want to update it here. I could just select all list items, and I can do it now and set it to enter. Paragraph is enter. And the block quote, let's do all block quotes and say enter. Okay, for the colors, let's go ahead and go to coolers.co. I think this will be a good practice. We'll go to coolers.co and we will pick a color palette. Hey Abhinav, hello. Yes, today we're working with the client first system and we're building a site using client first. Okay, so let me see here. Let's use let's use this color palette here. So we'll just copy these colors and let's go to the global swatches. So this will be the primary color. Let's see if that's what I want to use for the primary. No, this will be the primary color here, this beige. And we will add a global swatch. I'll paste that color, or just paste the color in here. And I think Webflow will give it a name. So I'll click create and it called it light yellow. The secondary color will say this red, and we'll add the global swatch and I'll create. The text color is just going to be black or 333. Let me add that as a global swatch. The background, actually, let's see here. Background, primary, secondary, let's see. Yeah, I want these to be the background. Or let's see. Yeah, let's make this the background. So I'm going to set this to this. And then this is going to be blue or red. No, we already did that. So let's do blue. Okay. I'll go back in here and we will add a new global swatch. Let me remove this and click create. So we have steel blue, and then we have, let's do background too. Okay. All right, so we'll see if that color palette works. We don't need a 6th color here, but for the button, let's change the color. I'm going to change it to this red, and the secondary, let's change it to the red as well, and change the border to red. The button text, I'll change it to this red color. Okay. And then we have the white, gray, and black backgrounds, icon sizes, and forms, and different Webflow elements. All right, so we have the base for our styles. Let's see here for this image. Let's see what style fit captions. Let's set this to enter as well. And cool. So just like that, we have a nice style guide for our site that matches this Figma file. So that's step number 1. When you jump into client first, you do want to go into the style guide, because I don't know how likely it is that you'll be using those fonts, the heading font, which is System UI, like that's the default that's being used. So if you do start a project with client first, I'd recommend going into the style guide and updating those classes. You don't want to change the size, like the font sizes, just change the font types and the colors, and you should be good to go. Hey Kavita, hello, hello. All right, so let's go into the home page and we can start building. So the first thing I'm going to do is delete this home text. I'll just delete that. We don't need it. So if we go into the client first and we go into the structure, this is how the site should be structured. So we have the page wrapper, we have the nav component, then we have the main wrapper, and then we have the sections and the padding. Every element has a parent element with padding or margin, and not every single element, but most elements. So let's go ahead. We can see in the clonable, they've already started with the page wrapper and the main wrapper. So let's go ahead and add the nav. So I'm going to hit Command K and add the nav bar. And I'll put this above the main wrapper so it follows the structure. So we have page wrapper, and the nav component and the main wrapper are inside of the page wrapper. Okay, so let me go into the Figma file, and I'll go ahead and export, or let's see here. This is actually just Playfair display. So I can just add some text for the brand. So for the nav bar, we're going to go ahead and rename the classes right away using the components structure that's recommended by client first. So hey Manuel, yep, we're going over the client first system today. So I'm going to go through each one of these, and I'm going to use the recommended class naming convention. So if we go to components, this is what they recommend here. They recommend a keyword and then, what that element is. So for example, for the container here, I could say nav as the keyword and then underscore container. All right, and let me just reference one of their sites just to see. Okay, so they called it nav underscore component Oh, so for the nav bar, yep, that makes sense. So nav underscore component. And then we have nav underscore container. And then we have nav underscore brand. Then we have nav underscore menu. Then we have nav underscore menu dash button. And then we have nav underscore icon. Okay, so we've renamed the classes and that looks good. All right, so let's just style this a bit more. And for the nav container, let me see if this works. So I want to make the nav container a bit larger and not use the 960 default size. So I want to grab a larger container. So I think I can do that with the structure, maybe main wrapper section. Okay, so we have container size, we have container large, container medium, and container small. So let me try adding a combo class of container large to this nav container. All right, cool. So that did work. It applied 80 rems to this container. And let me move this nav bar or this navigator. And we can see that the container is quite a bit larger. Okay, if I were to remove the container large, the container is a lot smaller. So I'll be using container large for desktop. And great. So now for the nav brand, I'm going to add the nav logo. And this is just going to be a text block. I don't want to use a heading for the nav logo because that's going to be for the main content of the page. So for the nav brand, let's call it nav. I'm going to call it nav text mark. Okay, because it's kind of like the mark of the site. Yvonne wrote, I've created my own nav container, which renders a better result. Nice. Are you using 80 rems or are you using rems for the container, Yvonne? Because I think you probably want to stick with the rems idea. And if you are using rems, what value are you using for your container? Okay, so we have that, the nav brand, and then we'll just go in here and the name is Verrier for the name of the site. So I'll say Verrier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also for the nav brand, I do want to set it to flex, center. And let's see, and let's set the height to 100%. No, okay, nav container. Okay, so this is where I get a little bit confused. Or no, this might still work. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna set it to flex, center, and space between, or to the left. I'm gonna put it to the left. Yeah, and here we go with the nav element, which if you've seen my live streams, you know that it's my favorite element. No, I'm being sarcastic. I always have issues with the Webflow nav bar. Yeah, okay, cool, Yvonne. Nice, so let me style this text mark. I'm gonna say Playfair display, and the size in the Figma file is 24. I feel like we're gonna have to make that bigger, but so 24, and this is in rems. 1 rems equals 16 pixels, so let's do 2 rems for the nav text mark. Oh, and that does look nice. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the nav menu and I'm going to, yeah, this is why, okay, so the nav container, I want to justify space between, or let me justify right. And then for the nav brand, I'm gonna set, or actually, oh no, okay, so we have this button. Okay, I see. So let's try that again. The nav container, we're gonna justify it to the left. Then to the nav brand. Okay, so this is where I want to add some spacing to the nav brand. And this is where, if I'm using the client first system, Okay, so Yvonne uses specific max widths. Okay, cool. Nice. So I want to add some margin to the right of this brand element. So what I would do is add a div block, and I would place the nav, add a div block in the nav container, and I would place the nav brand inside of this div block. And then I would give it the classes. So in the client first, for margin and padding, we have spacing, and I want to apply margin to the right, and then I want to say a specific margin. So for this div block, I'm going to say margin, and then we have a list of margins. I'm going to say margin right, and then I'm going to say margin, let's try margin medium. And here I'm going to pin this nav bar so we can see everything. I'm going to say margin medium. Perfect. That worked well. It added 2 rems to the right, and I like it. Okay. Margin right. Cool. Nice. And then we want to add a button in the nav bar. So we want it to look like this. So I'll add a button, and I'll place it right up here, and I'll call this primary, or button, or just button. Yeah, I'll say button. Okay, button, and then I'll say is nav bar. That way I can set position absolute and place it to the right. And for the nav container, I'm going to set a position of relative. And then for the nav, for this button, I'm going to set the top and bottom to auto. Okay, so that it centers it in the nav bar. All right, so if I preview, it's starting to look like this, which is great. And nice. So let me see here, home. Okay, so let me add the elements here. So home, services, how it works, and contact. So home, services, how it works, and contact. Okay, and let me remove the background color from the nav bar. So the nav component, I'm just going to say transparent for the color, and great. Okay, so I do want to add more padding to the nav component. So for this, what I'll do is add a div block, place it above the nav container, and then place the entire nav container in this div block, and I'll give it some padding. So again, we're going to use the spacing, and we're going to use padding. So I want padding all around. So padding is down here. It's pretty much the same as margin. Kavita writes, is rem better to use than pixels? So after watching client first, all Joe mentions is that it's better for accessibility, and that's all I got out of it. I didn't get the full reason why, but it just seems like a standard for accessibility. Like you want to use rems for accessibility. So I guess I'll just take that to face value and be like, okay, so rems are better for accessibility. Apparently, I guess I'll have to do more research on that, but I have heard that before, so I think it's true, and it probably is true. So yeah, and it's not too difficult to use. So if it does make things more accessible, then I don't mind kind of moving in that direction if necessary. I still use pixels for my templates just because users understand pixels more than rems. Yeah, so they'll wrote rem scales proportionally better. Yeah, so I've heard that quite often. So I haven't run into situations where my sites haven't scaled correctly on different devices. So I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a bit, but I know rems are good. I just haven't had the experience of or having that aha moment where I'm like, rems are far superior, better to pixels. And after, I still have to do my research with it, but in the client-first system, they are using REMS. It's not difficult to use, so we are going to use REMS in the client-first. So you probably heard me say it a few times, but I'm not knocking REMS. I just haven't had that moment where I'm like, REMS, they're way better because of X, X, and X. And if you have any more thoughts on it, feel free to share it, and it'll probably change my mind or have me go in the direction of REMS. All right, cool. Don't want to harp on that a bit more. All right, so back to the build. When I go off on these tangents, I don't know how clearly I'm communicating, so I should probably just stick to the builds. Okay, so we added the div block and placed the nav container in here. And yeah, cool. Or maybe I'm just stuck in my ways with pixels. I don't know. All right, so we added the div block. So we're going to add padding all around. So I'll add padding, and I'll say padding. Let's try padding medium. No, that's too much padding. So we'll remove it, and we'll say padding small. Cool. Nice. So we added padding small, and nice. So let's close that. So that's looking good. So I'm already starting to like the client-first system, right? It just takes a little bit of practice. So initially, and it does take the willingness to say, I'm going to watch all of these videos that Joe has here. I'm going to read the documentation, and I'm going to try it out. Because to me, if you don't watch the videos, if you don't read the documentation, this system would be very hard to understand in a way. Like, you're jumping in and you're trying to build a site with the new system. I feel like you'd have to watch all the materials that Joe has put out. And even if you're working with a client, the client, I feel, would have to watch these videos so that you and your client can be on the same page. But other than that, I am liking the system. I'm liking the organization. It took me a moment. I'm not going to say my face didn't cringe a few times as I was watching it, and not cringe in like a bad way, but just because I'm so used to doing things a certain way, where I was like, wait, why would I do that? For example, adding a parent element to a lot of my elements and only applying the padding to those elements. I get the idea, which is to have a uniform system and have global classes. So in that sense, my mind is opening up to the idea, and that's why I'm enjoying actually building the site, because as I'm building it, I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. This is actually kind of cool. All right, nice. So I like Hawk. Hello. Cool name. Nice. So let me rename this button. So I'm going to say get in touch. Okay. And we would probably link that to like a contact form. So this system, it reminds me of the BEM model a lot. So I think that's what Joe based client first on, BEM model CSS. So if we look at the getbem.com, you can see, let's see, let me look here. BEM CSS tricks, like, they have buttons, dashes, underscores, and it's just a way to keep class names organized. It's not exactly like the BEM model, but it kind of reminds me of that idea. And BEM stands for, what does BEM? Let's see, block element modifier. So you first start with the block, then you have the element, and then you have the modifier. And that's just like classes and combo classes type of idea. Or no, yeah, more like keywords. In the client first, Joe mentions it as keywords. So you start with your keyword, and then you get more descriptive as you go on. So under components, you can see, if you go to learn more, you start with your keyword, which is home header, company team, nav, and then as you add more elements, you get more descriptive. So yeah. And let's go back in here. So now we have the main wrapper. So Pablo wrote, hey John, quick comment. Yesterday you had an issue with a clip path project. I didn't watch it live, but I think the issue was that you had the custom code inside the head instead of before the body. Oh my God. Yeah. Thanks so much, Pablo. I didn't even realize that. I'll get to that today, and we'll just quickly update that. Nice. I appreciate you watching and commenting. Thank you. All right. So now, let's build this hero section. So the way we would do that, let's go into client first. Let's go back to the structure, and I'll close this here. So we have the main wrapper, and then we have the section. So we'll start with the section, and we can close the nav component. We're done with that. We'll go into the main wrapper. I'll add a section, and I'll call this section, would it be section dash home header. And let me see if I did that. Yeah, section identifier, cool. Then we have the page padding. So then I'll add a div block in here. And let's do for this, let's call it padding. Let's do padding large. Let's try that. And that's padding large is 3 rems. So I like adding a good amount of padding to my element. Actually, for the nav bar, we did padding small. So this is where I run into a bit of an issue because I want my padding to be smaller at the top and the bottom, but larger on the left and the right. So essentially for this padding small, I guess what I would, I might have to add a custom class here. So let me remove this padding, and I'm gonna say padding custom 1. And I'm gonna do 1 rem from the top, 1 rem from the bottom, and 3 rems from the left and the right. Okay. And that just, I feel that works better because I don't want so much padding for the nav bar, so it's super like far from the top of the site. And so within the section, we added padding large, and this is 3 rems, and that's okay for the home section. And then the alignment will match with the nav bar. So that's why we want the same padding for the nav bar as well as the section. Okay, so let's go next. So we have the padding. Now let's add the container. So I'm going to add the container. And I'm going to give it the class container large. Okay, so it's going to match our nav bar. So Ivanro, if you have time today, I created these layouts using client first to understand the system and structure format. Yeah, Rashid, they have the classes of padding, horizontal, and vertical. Yeah, I did think about that, but so how would I do that necessarily? Would I add both? Like, would I say padding horizontal, right? And then we have, so let me remove this padding, was padding vertical. Oh, I see. So you would say, yeah, and this is the issue I ran into, because if I were to say padding horizontal, right? If I said padding horizontal and then I said padding large, it does add the padding to the left and the right, but now I want padding to the top and the bottom. And that's kind of the issue. Like, I guess, could I do padding vertical as well? And then do padding small? I don't think that would work. No, that's too many classes there. So the padding custom, I feel, works the best here because I can just add my custom padding. Okay. So yeah, now we have the container and we have the heading, we have this paragraph, and we have this get in touch section here. So in the container, I'll go ahead and do that. Let me pin this here so we can see it. I'll add the heading and I'll add the paragraph. So let's see here, paragraph, and I'll add the button. Okay, and we'll right away give this the class button. Very nice. So for the heading, let me copy this text. Nope, that's not the text I wanted to copy. Here it is. Okay, so we have that heading, and very nice. We have the heading and we have the paragraph. So for the paragraph, let's copy this text. Yvonne, did you send me an email? If there's an email that, or if there's a site you want me to look at, just send me an email and I will check it out. Paragraph, let me paste this in here. Cool. And the button, what does the button say? Get in touch. Get in touch. Okay, so now we want to add some spacing, right? So for this container large, let's see. Okay, yeah, that's fine. The container large, I'm going to add a div block and place it right up here and put the heading in here. And for the div block, I'm going to say margin bottom. And we'll give it a margin large. Yeah, margin large. Yep. And we'll also give it, we'll give this heading a max width. So I'll say max width medium. Let's see. No, that's too small. Let's do max width large. Okay, that's better. And this heading is very large, so I'm going to give it a custom class. So it's 64. And here we have 48 rems. Oh no, we have 4 rems. So 64 divided by 16 is 4. Or actually, yeah, that's actually the right size. Okay, cool. So why, let me see here, design. So let's remove this max width. Max width. So we don't have a custom max width, so we'll just do max width large. Could you guys try to yesterday? Yes, Dylan, we'll get to that in about 5 minutes. Yep, I'll definitely check that out, Dylan. My apologies. Actually, yeah, I wanted to go through the client first system first before we got into super chats. So this paragraph, I'm going to add a div block and place the paragraph in here. And let me put this out here. Okay. And we're going to say margin large or margin bottom. Bottom and margin large. Cool. So that looks good. And nice, I'm happy with that. And we'll add a max width to this paragraph. We'll say max width large. And nice, actually I might do max width small. Max width small. Okay, so, or medium, sorry. So as I'm building, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's a cool system. I feel a bit stifled creatively because I feel like everything is already preset. For me, as I'm building something, I like experimenting with different units and just getting a feel for how things look. There's my dog. So yeah, I mean, I guess I would use the system, and even Yvonne said he made his own custom elements. And I think as your designer, as designers or developers of a site, sometimes you do want to experiment. And so I do feel a little bit closed in using the system, but that would be with any system, right? Like any system you decide to choose. If you decide not to go the more creative route, if you if you feel like you don't maybe have a good handle on using classes and you want to use a system, then that kind of comes with that territory. You won't have the flexibility of your own naming system because you are using a system that has predefined values and predefined settings. Okay, so yeah, I think that looks okay. I'm still not super happy with this. I think I'd want it more to the left. Let me see if I can add a max width to the entire container. Max width small. Oh no, because then it centers it. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to the container. No, see, this is where it gets a little bit strange. I want to add some padding to the container. Well, yeah, this is what this is. So let me do, let me see here. Let me do padding extra large, actually. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Padding extra large. That's a little bit better. I don't mind that. And then for the container large, I'm gonna give it a combo class of isHeader. And I'm gonna give it a background of like a light gray. So like something very light. And I'm gonna set the border radius to 30. No, let's do 8. Let's give it a little border radius. And then I want some padding inside of the container. So I would add another div block and I would say padding, maybe padding medium. And I would place everything in here. And I would make this a bit lighter. This background to the container, slightly, almost not visible. There's a little design element there. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of getting there. Let me say padding. I'm gonna say padding large for this. Yeah, we're starting to get there. Cool. So yeah, we'll continue with the, this is not aligned properly. We'll continue with this system tomorrow as well. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna jump into super chats now. Let's see here, we have some interesting things going on. Nav text mark, nav link, nav menu. These elements are not aligned. Let me see. No, it doesn't look bad. Okay, and then also for the buttons, I would want to add some type of hover state. So maybe for the hover state, we could say, you know, a different color. We could say blue, right? So hover, it turns blue. Hover and blue. Okay, cool. I'll publish it and cool. So by the time we're done building the site, we're gonna have plenty of practice with the client first system. And yeah, I'll continue using it. And yeah. So there's the site and cool. And let's see if it's responsive right away. Yeah, it does look pretty responsive. Yeah, the text gets responsive and all the elements. So yeah, it's kind of growing on me a little bit. I'd still have to decide if it's what I want to use. But as far as a system that kind of makes everything responsive, you know, kind of right away and it's all preset, it's interesting. Cool, so yeah. Props and kudos to Finsweet. I know they probably put a lot of time and energy into this. And I see where they're coming from because I know that's kind of a pain point in Webflow. Like you jump into Webflow and you're like, what do I name things? Like what, you know, how do I want to design my site? And what ends up happening is users just throw in div blocks and they don't name their div blocks, and div blocks end up turning into div block 10, div block 15, div block 106, div block, div block, div block. And there's no organization to the site, and nobody really wants that. So I get it. I get why they did it. And for me, I just have experience with Webflow. I've been using it for a while, so I kind of like the system that I got going. Plus, as a template developer, they do kind of give you a system that you have to follow, which I've gotten a bit used to. So yeah, let's go into super chats. I definitely want to get to Dylan's. So Dylan, the site, I'm going to look at it on my phone right now. So it's, let's see, where seems. Did I get that right? whereseams.webflow.io. Okay, so let's see. All right, so the question is, if you click to view website and right click inspect in mobile viewport, you will see the cart goes tiny even though in the editor it looks fine. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing, Dylan, right off the bat, is that I can't close the menu. So if I open it, I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I have to click to another page to get out of the menu. There's no close button for the menu. That's the first thing I notice. Let's see. If you inspect in mobile viewport, you will see the cart goes tiny even though in the editor it looks fine. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, okay. So let me jump into your site. I know you sent me an email yesterday. So let me grab it. Dylan. All right, so it's right here. Sorry, I just have to find the read-only link. I've gotten quite a few emails lately, so I'm gonna have to work on organizing it correctly. Okay, here it is. All right, Dylan, so the cart becomes very tiny. I do see that. Okay, no worries. So let's go to the mobile. And actually, we can probably do it on desktop. So let's go into the cart and the cart button, or the cart here. Let's see, cart button. And I'm just gonna take a look here. Cart. Let's get cart button. Yeah, I might try. I might try setting the cart button to 100%. Or maybe, let me look at the cart header, cart form, the cart button. Let's see, image. Let me see, 100%. No. Cart quantity. Yeah, I think I'd try. Yeah, try setting it to 100%. No, but that changes the layout a bit. I think it probably has to do with this image, because the images usually want to be 100%, so they don't get smaller. And then for the cart, you could set a specific width, maybe like 100 pixels, or let's see, 50 pixels. Yeah, maybe try that, Dylan. Try setting the cart button to like 60 pixels and then the image set it to 100%. and that should solve that issue. Yeah, sometimes images get a bit funny like that, like where if it's not set to 100%, they get smaller. I remember being in support and that question would get asked a lot. So just set the image to 100% and set a specific width to the cart button. You should be good to go. Oh, and we can see here the cart button is a lot smaller. Oh, because of this margin. So let me remove this margin and maybe set the cart button to 40 pixels, something like that. And then I would apply the margin to the cart. Yeah, maybe like 8 pixels of margin. I might make this logo smaller, maybe 28. And that gives us a bit more breathing room for the cart. Could do like 10 pixels. All right, sounds good. Awesome, Dylan. Let me know if that works. Pavish, I'm gonna check this out in a second, but Yvonne had a message. So Yvonne, I'm experimenting with a mixture of wizardry method and client first design system. So let me check out your email, Yvonne. And okay, so we have it here. Excuse me. So this is the site you sent yesterday, and the question was, if you have time today, I created these layouts using client first to understand the system and structure format. Yeah, okay, so I'm looking at this. Great job. Yeah, this is exactly what the client first system would look like. Yeah, I'd probably recommend cloning the, let's look here. Right, so I can see you added your own classes. Doesn't look like you're using, let me see here. The class naming convention is spot on, so great job. Yeah, Yvonne, I'm curious to see what you design in like a month or two, because you're on a very fast track right now with learning Webflow. So very, very good job. So we can see the only thing you want to do is add a page wrapper. So the client first system starts with a page wrapper, and then everything goes inside of the page wrapper. So you could just, pop that in there. And let me call this, yeah, sometimes this happens where you can't place elements inside other elements. Killer, if you're here, I did get your email, so if you want to drop a super chat, feel free to do that. Yeah, call this page wrapper. And then I don't know if the HTML embed needs to go in the page wrapper, but it could. Yeah, okay, cool. Page wrapper, we have the section team, great. Then we have the container. The container doesn't have a max width, so I'm a little curious about that. If you did want to use like the client first, their container would be like container large, or container medium or container small. So I would clone this clonable here that has all the classes from client first, and that way you're not oh, it was a different link, so it's not this site. So let's see. Okay, so sorry about that, Yvonne. Let's go back to this. So this is the site, correct? So it was a different link. Cool. So you probably did everything I mentioned. Yep. So this is exactly what you did. Perfect. So the question was, okay, I created this layout. So yeah, page wrapper, nav bar, great. Section cover image wrapper, cover image. Perfect. Yeah, great job. Oh, the container. You're missing the container. So I would just add a div block, and I would say like container, I don't know, large. And maybe it doesn't need a container. Depends, you know, some elements or sections don't need a container. But you can just add that in there. And this cover image wrapper width is 80%. I might make this 100%, unless you wanted to add padding. So I would remove this width and maybe just add padding. So I would add a div block in here. And it all depends, right? Like this is where I don't know what design you were going for, so it's hard for me to say, but you know, I'd do like padding large here. Yeah, to this div. So I place that in there and say padding large, right? So now this is large. Nav bar, let me see here, section cover, nav bar, 0.5 rem. So yeah, I probably wouldn't apply the padding to the nav bar cover. I would probably remove that there, and then to this padding, page padding, let me just take a look here. Page padding, container large. I'm trying to understand this here, container large, page padding. Let me remove this and say padding medium or padding large. Let's try that. Okay. And then we have the container. Then we have the nav bar. Let's see, nav bar menu wrapper, nav bar cover menu button. I'm trying to understand why this container or these elements are not quite in the container, unless these are absolute or something. Oh, this is fun. Container large. Yeah, container large, padding large, nav bar cover. This is fixed, maybe, is that why? Relative? No, not quite. Yeah, I would kind of work with this here. Let's see, so the container, it doesn't have a specific height. So I'm curious about that. Let me undo that. And redo this. Okay, so padding large, right? So we have the nav bar, we have the padding, we have the container, and these elements should be in the container, which they're not. Here, let me try this. I think I'd have to spend some time with this, Yvonne. I'm not exactly sure how you built this. Container, cover image. It's just an intro page. If you preview, you get to see the other 3 builds. Yeah, it worked. Thanks, John. Okay, awesome. Happy to hear that, Dylan. Happy to hear that. Awesome. Yeah, let me view on my phone too. Yep, there it is. It looks great. I like the size. It's a great size, great design, good stuff. Excellent. Very nice. Yeah, and if you're selling shirts, Dylan, you probably know about the Printful integration that Webflow has. I'm sure you're probably using that. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand this one here, Yvonne. If you preview, so first build, oh, okay, I got you. Oh, wow. Finsweet first build, second build. Are these, did you build this from scratch, Yvonne, or are these? That'd be pretty impressive if you built it from scratch, because that's a lot of elements. Oh, and we have the menu, good stuff. Ooh, look at that, great job. yeah, I'm going through it, and page wrapper, nav bar, main wrapper, section home header, great. Yeah, this is following the exact convention. I don't know if there's anything I can critique here, Yvonne. If you are using the Finsweet system, it sounds and looks like you're following the guide. So as far as me critiquing anything, I don't know if I have anything there. Like slide nav, maybe just name it to slide dash nav, to follow that component structure. But you are following it very nice. Or you could just say, rather than that, you could say slider, like you already did, slider underscore and then nav. Awesome. Great job, Yvonne. Yeah, you're on the right track. This is excellent. Great stuff. And these are great images. Hopefully they're not licensed. Like, I don't know if it's possible to use these images because they're most likely licensed. So I'd just be careful. Like, I mean, you're not selling it or distributing it or promoting it, but these images belong to really big brands. So when you're in web design, that's something you always want to be aware of. You never want to use images that are not licensed correctly. That's why you'll see me, I always use unsplash.com. These are license free images. You can use them for whatever you want, and they're high quality. It's the same with Pexels, pexels.com. Free images and videos, and you can just use them for any of your projects. Yeah, just wanted to note that there because you're using kind of like big brands like Xbox and things like that. Yeah, so this is the second build. Cool. Yeah, there's not much I can critique really. Yvonne, just keep going. It looks like you're following the client first system very well. So you have page wrapper, main wrapper, components, padding, all that is great. Cool. So yeah, I'd just leave it like that. Let me actually go to the resources here. Yeah, so these are resources. So maybe you followed along with the live build. If you did, great job, because that would take definitely take some time to go through the live build with them and build it, unless you copied and paste, which again, I'm not sure how you did it. Yeah, the first two build was with Finsweet live site. Did you build following along the live stream or the live session? Because yeah, that deserves major props if you did that. Like, because if you go to live build, you can see the live stream. And let me just mute this here. Yeah, if you followed along and you did this entire video, I mean, that deserves applause. Definitely. If you did that, like, you can definitely see you want to learn Webflow. Like, you want to get consistent at building in Webflow. So great job. Continue. Let me go back to the site. Where was it? Not this one. Yeah, this one. Just continue building like this. You'll be building professional sites in no time. Yeah, I didn't think you were selling the move on. I was just I just wanted to make that caveat there, that quick mention. I don't see this this kind of video game site, or maybe it was no. So if you built this video game site, where is it? Here it is. Like, maybe you just referenced another site or Microsoft site. Yeah, this looks like the Microsoft site. Microsoft. Great job, Yvonne. Super impressive. So Microsoft. It's probably their Xbox. Yeah, Xbox. Yeah. Okay. Great stuff. Yeah, I see what you did. So you kind of tried to rebuild it in Webflow. Good stuff. I'm super impressed, Yvonne. This is awesome. Container large, perfect. Yeah. Wow. Let me know if you built this yourself, because I want to know now. Like, if you did, then you're on your way to like hiring or getting clients to build for. Obviously you want to keep learning and maybe build a few practice sites. I'd probably pick a Figma file and build a site from a Figma file, because a lot of times you want to work with a designer and get a Figma file and then build it from that file. Oh man, congrats, Yvonne. Like, yeah, you're well on your way. You're like an intermediate user now. After seeing this, like, you're definitely, you said you've been building since 2019, so I think you probably have a good handle on Webflow, but this just shows me that, you're building very well. So great job. Yeah. I don't have anything to critique, because if you're doing this, then you pretty much, what you're doing, or you have a good understanding of Webflow. Yeah, that's the same thing I'm saying, Manuel. Like, to build all these elements, and like, let's just open up the classes, right? Like, this is just without the symbols, and then there's symbols in here with tons of elements. Just super impressive. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, show a client this, and they'd probably be impressed. Yeah, we're all on the same page with the amount of work you put into this, Yvonne. Great stuff. Yeah. I think Yvonne might be showing up a lot of us up, but that's great. That's the kind of dedication and commitment you would want if you want to like get super serious about web design and development. I mean, you probably don't have to go to this length, or yeah, maybe you do, or start building more practice sites, but as far as the attention to detail and the amount of different elements in this, it's just, I don't know what to say. It's super impressive. Yeah. So I'm glad I've been part of your growth, Yvonne. You seem very studious and very on point as far as like dedication and building and practicing in Webflow. So I don't have much more to say about that. Just very impressed. Great stuff. If this was a class, you'd get like an A+. Like, just really cool. Good stuff. Awesome. So yeah. Cool. I was going to say something about like if I had like gold stars or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah. But that's worthy of gold stars, definitely. It sounds kind of tacky for me to say that, but just very impressed. I know I've said that a few times already. Okay, so I'm done with the live stream. Before I get off into like strange tangents, as I sometimes do, I'm going to end it here. Thanks, everyone. Abhinav, I know you had mentioned, so Pavish wrote how to do smooth scrolling without using Luxy or Smooth Wrapper, and can you make preloader to appear on first visit only? Yes, Pavish, let's get into that tomorrow. Please just remind me of the super chat tomorrow and we'll get into it. And Abhinav, I know you had another question and I want to get into that as well. But yeah, that's it for this live stream. So tomorrow we're going to continue with the client first system. Definitely it's growing on me a little bit, but I'm not sure I'll be using it for my personal builds, but I'm kind of liking the system. I like that I'm spending the time with it and actually understanding it. And with any system, I think it just takes practice, right? It just takes time to start using it. So you get comfortable with it, right? We want to get comfortable with the systems we're using, whether we're just building a style guide initially or whether we're using the client first with the style guide. It's just about getting comfortable with the system to the point where you can communicate what you're doing to your clients or to whoever is using your website. Or if it's just for you, then you want a system that's easy to understand for yourself and that works well and makes your site responsive across all devices and doesn't overcomplicate things with using too many div blocks and too many class names. Okay, so it is an art, it is a practice. this is not something that comes out of the box with Webflow. You do have to take the time to learn class naming convention or to find a system that works for you. So you're not just adding div blocks, and you never want a class name that's just called div block, right? And I know some of us can be guilty of that sometimes. At this point, I never have an element that's called div block, just because I've been using Webflow for a while, and I know I never want to see that. But yeah, in all your builds, you want to name your classes. And if you need a class naming convention, there's things like client first, and there's a few other ones out there as well. And if you just want to name your classes, like use capital case, that's fine too, and be descriptive with your class name. So there's many different ways to approach it. Props to, Finsweet taking the time to actually create a system, which is interesting. And I'm going to be following this, and it'd be interesting to see where this goes as far as like how many users start using it and what's the consensus, and could this be one of the more used systems. So I know there's a few other systems, so maybe after I'm done using this system, we'll look at a few other ones and just see the pros and cons maybe of different systems. I don't know. But yeah, this is what the live streams are about, just getting more proficient in Webflow, covering different topics, and just having fun building in Webflow. So Killa wrote, why did I just wake up? Yeah, just come back tomorrow, Killa, and I did get your email, and we'll cover that. I missed a few chats here. Okay, tomorrow I will show 2 of my pages. Nice. Looking forward to it. Cool. Yvonne, nice. Dale, hope to be here tomorrow as well, schedule permitting, for sure. Thanks, Dale. Appreciate it. Hey, John, my email's underneath Kenneth. I'll set an alarm tomorrow. Sheesh, in super chat for project. Awesome. Thanks, Killa. I'll look for it tomorrow. I did get the email, so we'll definitely cover that after the super chat. If you want to send a super chat for it. All right, everyone. I went over again. Thanks for joining again. It's becoming a great live stream. Welcome if you're new. Hopefully you enjoyed this live stream. I do these every Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central, and we cover everything Webflow. All right, so yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.